So it's Saturday of the first week of January, first trading week of January. On Sunday I had the forecast video for the week, and I was looking at EUGU, USD CHF and USD CAD, AUD USD and indices. On EU and GU, since we had a monthly context to work with there, and I was bullish on EU and GU because I was bearish on DXY. I entered the week looking for longs off that weekly fair value gap there. That was the main context for the week. When the week candle opened on Monday, we had an SMT at the lows with EU filling the gap and GU failing to sweep that low there. So we had an SMT, and I was focusing more on GU for longs if the opportunity presented itself. This was daily on Monday. EU swept the daily context low for pivot, then filled the weekly gap. We had the daily gap already on GU, but it had already been used. Market came back into it, failed to sweep that low, and we had an SMT there. It's like a two-step SMT with one at the lows, the daily low, and one at the weekly fair value gap there. I was looking to long GU. I was waiting for this 4-hour trapped order flow to get disrespected first. This inverse, this bearish gap. So I was looking for buys. I was waiting for this gap to get disrespected so I can long off the entry there. At last we got the disrespect here. We got the disrespect candle there. After we got that candle, since we had a 1 hour impulse shift here, I could have entered directly from here, but since we did not disrespect the gap then, I couldn't take it. I had to wait for the disrespect first. Once we got that disrespect of the gap, I executed off that 1 hour impulse shift. And the execution is down here. I entered off the 1 hour fair value gap here. I waited until this candle closed to disrespect that 4-hour gap. Then I entered right here. It wasn't a long till just 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, and it hit the target. So that was the first trade for the week on EU and GU. And after that trade, the content was basically complete. It was quick. GU just completed the weekly context instantly, and that was all for EU and GU for the week. There was nothing else to do there since I had no other context to work with. So that was all for EU and GU. And onto USD CAD and USD CHF. I was bearish on DXY, so I was anticipating shorts here. I was bearish on DXY since we disrespected our weekly bullish gap. I was anticipating lower prices towards this low. Same thing on USD CAD on the monthly. We had this pretty powerful push down after respecting this monthly gap here. USD CHF was not clean on the monthly. On the weekly on DXY, I was looking at this pivot high to sell from, similar to EU and GU to buy. I was looking to sell from this pivot high instead. Same thing, I was looking for like an SMT at the highs. On USD CAD, I was looking at this high too to be swept, then we go lower. I was looking for shorts from that high. We got the sweep of that high in DXY early. And SMT with USD CHF and USD CAD. So I was anticipating shorts from this point. We had this 4-hour trapped order flow similar to GU, so I was waiting for it to get disrespected first before entering the trade. on USD card, we swept that weekly high, that daily pivot high later, and that 4 hour chart order flow, we used the fair value gap. So there was no longer a chart order flow because I was anticipating an entry to sell from. Then we got a 1 hour impulse shift. Yeah, we got a 1 hour impulse shift down, and even USD disrespected that 4 hour chart order flow there. So it looked clean for shorts, and I executed a short there. The execution is down here. Yeah, executed a short off the 1 hour gap there. But we got stopped out. Yeah, we got stopped out there for like plus 1 hour. And also, while I was on that trade, I saw an opportunity for an intraday setup basically. I saw an opportunity for an intraday setup. Let me look for the context. Okay. So yeah, since we had the 1 hour gap and we disrespected the 4 hour trap order flip, I was expecting short from that point. So I was looking towards this 4 hour gap, but we had this SMT here, which was the breakaway gap. So I was using a 1 hour gap there on USD card. On USD CHF, we had this 1 hour gap. So I was looking to sell from the gap. USD card was not cleaner. I was already on that swing trade here, and we had this 1 hour gap here that was off this price leg. So it's not as clean, but it was something. Then during London session, we had to sweep of that iron DXY, and in USD CHF filled the 4 hour gap. The USD card did not sweep that high there, giving us an SMT at the highs. So I was looking to short USD card since we had SMT at the high. I was looking for the market to disrespect this 15-minute trap order flow first before London. So if we disrespected this gap or used it before London, I would have used the 5-minute entry to like short towards the lows. We got the disrespect directly before London. So that was an opening to execute a long basically. That was the second setup I took on this pair this week. We had SMT at the highs with DXY and USD CHF. We had this SMT here, a two-step SMT basically, and we disrespected the gap and we were within the London session Q zone. Sorry, New York session Q zone. So it was like an A plus setup, so I executed it, but we got stopped out instantly. That was the second trade for this asset, and since then the market just kept going higher. So basically the context for the week was not valid, it was disrespected, so there was nothing else here. The context was disrespected, so we have to wait till next week to see something else. The other pair we accessed was AUD USD and NUD USD. AUD USD, I had no execution here. There was no execution here simply because the framework was not met. I was anticipating longs basically. I was looking for longs. I was looking for market to either sweep this low or give us an SMT at the lows. So NZD had to sweep this low first, so we can have an SMT with AUD. But we had none of that during the week. Until the market moved close to the low and just went straight up instead, taking out the highs while not taking out the lows. So there was no setup there basically. There was nothing to trade. Market did come down later after taking out that high and giving us this SMT there for another context. But I think it's fair to call that a different context because that context was already ended. I might look at this for next week, so this context was invalidated, so there's no need to bother with this anymore. And for indices, I had a normal plan for the week, which this is the first plan here. We're looking for longs. This we're bullish on the monthly on all three assets. We're looking for longs. Even during the week, we had this context completed, and I was looking at this low, which I was not expecting to get swept to long from. On the daily was where we had the actual context. This was USD US 30 on the daily. It was just within this range. I did not anticipate anything from here. But with ES, we had this daily gap that got respected here. We have no opposing favorable gap except the one high up here. So it was looking good for long since we expected this gap with this respect candle. While on NQ, we had the favorable gap there too, but the respect candle is not there since we closed within the gap. I was still looking for longs though, but not as I was more focused on ES because ES looked stronger. I was waiting for market to disrespect this 4-hour gap before I long. Same thing with GU, same thing with the model. We don't trade trap order flow. I was waiting for a disrespect first. So I was anticipating this market to like use the gap or disrespect it for me to look for an entry on the 1-hour time frame. Same thing on NQ. And during before 9 p.m. we had this disrespect candle here closing outside the gap there. That was the key to look for an entry. So I took the execution on ES after we got the first 1-hour gap there. I'm trying to get to the execution. Okay, yes, this 1 hour, was it this? Let me check it real quick. Yeah, it was that 1 hour gap. I had to use the lower gap because if I had used the one in the middle, the risk to reward would be less than 1 to 2. And I wanted to target 1 to 2, so there was a higher chance of missing out on the trade because I used the lower gap, the breakaway gap, instead of the one higher. But the one higher would not have given me 1 to 2, so why I used this one. After the spread of the gap, we had this impulse shift and we took the trade. Stop loss at the price leg low and targeting a 2R next to the context. We got tagged in on the trade and the market went straight to target in a few hours. We had another entry here, but not taking that one. The market went up and we got another entry here. That was all for this context. I had no intraday setup here too, just swing. And that was the only trade I took on this context. The week could have ended here in because I took on 4 trades in total with 2 wins and 2 losses and a total of the 2 trades were like 2R each. And 2 losses 2R, which is still up 2%, but there was a new context on indices again after the last context was completed. After this context was complete, we had a new context form. We had this new context form here. New daily context basically. We had this daily gap on US 30